All right, let's get her going. Jam-packed. 2 hours. The Real Kyper and Bourne Show, Season 5. We're live on Sportsnet 360, 590 The Fan in Toronto, streaming always on Sportsnet Plus. And if you miss our show, there's Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. Wow. How about our two guests in the second hour? The 19th General Manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, John. Now, do you say Chayka or Chayka?
Chayka sounds right to me.
You should probably figure that out. He's going to be here now.
Yeah.
He will be in studio along with a senior executive advisor for your Toronto Maple Leafs, Mats Sundin. Yes, there are two new sheriffs in town.
That's right. A couple of new bosses.
And their name ain't Billy Ray Valentine.
I have no idea
What is that?
Is it an old Western?
No, Trading Places.
Sorry.
I don't even know if I got the name
What
right.
is going on?
It's just a little movie reference.
Oh,
Okay. All right. And a very famous one. I just don't know if I got the name right.
No one's going to know if you didn't.
There was a press conference today. What's that, Derek Brandale? Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd. I've got validation from Derek Brandale.
Yeah, he's old too.
And
so.
Jake the Snake Schultz. All right. We're good to go. Press conference today, 1 p.m. Eastern. Formally introduced by CEO Keith Pelly. Sammy, you were down there.
I went, yeah. Big J journalist.
You are.
Yeah. Overall vibe, I guess it got a little tense. A lot of talk now in social media, especially with Steve Simmons, right, from the Toronto Sun. But what did you gather out of there today?
First of all, like everything aside, just to see Mats up there with the Leafs logo behind him and having him back involved is, for my little, 12, 13-year-old heart, very, very cool to see him up there and have him talking about the Leafs with pride and the fact that he wants to be back here. I would say there were some pretty tense moments, and at times the line of questioning seemed a little more, about the past as opposed to like what they're actually going to do with the hockey team. I think the actual hockey-related questions, I think Luke asked one. My boy Dan Riccio asked one about Matthews, the Berube one from Koshan. Yeah. But a lot of it seemed like they were really trying to stamp home what they thought about Chayka, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, I mean, it was a little tense, I would say.
JB, okay. We know that Keith Pelly could have gone in a lot of different directions. Yeah. He could have gone a lot safer, but he chose not to go safe here. And yeah, there'll be the occasional question on still the hiring, but ultimately it will be about what these guys do moving forward here that will dictate, where that conversation ends up. And hopefully it's in the rearview mirror.
I'm reminded of the old John Tortorella thing they had in Tampa Bay, which was safe as death. Like Tree Living was the safe hire, right? He was a name that people knew, and he made safe moves and wanted to get tougher and said the safe things. And it was over very quickly for him. And so I don't think that there is a real safe way to go. So if they felt like Chayka was the guy that, they believed in his plan and direction and all that, safe or not, you have to make a choice at some point. And credit to them for sticking to their guns. Yeah, and Steve Simmons I've known for a long time. And listen, anybody that sticks around for 30 or 40 years doing what they're doing, they tend to be pretty good at it. I get the question, in terms of ultimately asking about the process in hiring him. I'm not sure if it was completely fair to go into those using specific name calling like that for me, that is not me. That is not me, but it's Steve, and he's entitled as a journalist. He can go anywhere he wants to go. But I think the question's kind of fair in terms of the process and how did you come to this conclusion. I just didn't like the certain name calling. Well, and to me, I don't even really know what the question was. Like, it was like, hey,
how did you come to this conclusion when others have formed their own opinion?
Well, but it was, I got a different answer than you was kind of the question. It was like, okay, you weren't doing the hiring. There's a million people out there that have their opinions. That wasn't the way we felt about it. So I didn't feel like it was a productive question that was going to lead to an answer about process in a meaningful, satisfying way. And yeah, I didn't care for it.
I think maybe a lot of the fan base has had some of the similar questions that Simmons asked, and maybe he thought that was part of his line of questioning, that there's been a lot of, fair and unfair questions about Chayka's past and what happened with Phoenix and the draft picks and all this different stuff. So maybe that's why he was putting it out there like that. Yeah, I mean, the room got a little tense.
Then they went to Rosie next. I was like, oh boy,
here we
go.
So,
but they got her back on the rails.
Yeah.
As a reminder, John Chayka, general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Mats Sundin, in studio in roughly a little over an hour. Plenty to get into that I'm not sure was asked after they left the air. I'm sure they did a media scrum. I don't know what questions were asked, but we certainly got a ton for them.
Yeah,
right?
We do. I certainly have a lot more questions about the 2026-2027 Toronto Maple Leafs. You can talk all you want about process and who and whatever. And okay, well, what does it mean now?
Yeah.
So that's
you may disagree or agree with the decision to make John Chayka the general manager and hire Mats Sundin, and you can disagree with that, and at times I have clearly on this show, but there is a monumental 3 to 4 weeks coming up here for this franchise in terms of starting tomorrow night. The draft lottery is tomorrow.
I know Chayka called it catching a moving train. It's like okay, there's scouting meetings, draft lottery. Here you go.
As far as how this is all kind of folded out, surprised, not surprised. We had talked about Mats potentially being a president, head of hockey ops, which clearly he's not. Mm-hmm. The official title for John is general manager of hockey operations, which falls into, yeah, you're the man.
You're the dude.
You're the dude.
Yeah, I guess I don't know about how surprised. To me, it's a smart decision on Mats's behalf, on the team's behalf. He's not coming in here and claiming to, be the guy. I think it would have been a big ask for a guy who we've said before hadn't had a ton of experience to make all the final decisions. Chayka has been as the decision maker before. So
yeah, I couldn't agree with you more in terms of also being a little nervous for my friend, obviously. Yeah. You don't want him biting off more than he could chew. Mm-hmm. You don't want him to come in and pretend that he's something that he's not right now. Mm-hmm. Can certainly develop into something
for sure
much bigger and frankly more important, right? In terms of how many people you're accounted for, how many people fall under your watch, whatever the case is. It doesn't sound like anyone needs to answer to him, which again gives him ample opportunity to get in as much as he wants, or maybe as little as he wants. Yeah. If there's any scenario where he's feeling a little uncomfortable or a little underwhelmed because of his lack of experience.
They were pretty consistent about one thing in this process, and it was that they weren't so worried about titles. They were like, okay, that's a guy who we want around. And I wrote today, it's up on sportsnet.ca, just kind of my thoughts on the Sundin Chayka hires. Yeah. One of the ideas for me was that when I have been saying I wanted them to hire a president, what I really had in mind was Brendan Shanahan's role, where someone with a big picture view of the organization was there every day. Yeah. And was there for someone to lean on. And he didn't have that last year. I think having Sundin there to be that, he'd be at morning skate, see everything as it's going on, and just have a sense for the greater direction of the team. You don't have to say we need you on the, evaluating the bottom line of our fiscal year. Like, I want him just around to help the team and guide it. And I think they kind of knew that from the jump.
Yeah. I think, like, to your point, naming him, he can probably do some of what Shanny was doing as president without having to be called the president, right? Yes. Like, he can do some of the quote-unquote culture stuff, and that was one of the big lines of questioning with him. I think it was Matt Larkin asked him sort of about the locker room and the conversations on the locker room and the culture or whatever. He had an answer for that. I don't know if we want to get into some of the clips, but having him there, one of the things is I wanted a guy who gets it, who understands being a Leaf, and the one big red flag with him was the lack of experience, but there's been lots of guys so having him understanding it and having maybe not the big responsibility of being the president, maybe it could work, the combination of that. I don't know.
What do you got for a clip for us?
I got lots of clips. Where do you want to start?
I think, it's interesting, people. One of the questions, I think Chayka has been out of hockey for 5 years. And so one of the earlier questions was just about, okay, have you been out of touch with this? I think it was Gina Retta.
Yeah, it was Gina Retta. Yep.
And Chayka, why don't we just start with clip one on learning stuff from other sports?
Yeah, I would just echo that, while I had a full-time job, that part of that job was involved in sports as well. It was a different side of sports on the capital side. And so to go around and meet different organizations across the globe, see what a world-class organization looks like, how they're structured, how they're resourced, how they're creating competitive advantages, right from ownership down through the players. It was an incredibly valuable lens. And so, I think if I had not been a general manager previously, that would have been more concern for me. But the fact that I've sat in the chair and now have a different lens as well, I think it's actually been a real positive to learn and grow and become more diverse in my thoughts and opinions. And I think that'll be a real asset for me, actually.
There's been people for years who've been in the NHL, and you ask them why they do stuff, and the answer is because that's how we do stuff. So I don't hate the idea of someone with refreshed ideas having a look at things.
This reminds me a lot of Dubas. Yeah. Remember with Dubas and was it Man City? Or what was the one Amazon? There was one soccer team or a thing that he watched. That's why they did the Amazon thing. Remember, because it was him taking stuff from other sports and kind of integrating it. It's interesting, but I remember him.
And Man City did one.
I think it was Man City, right?
As well, yeah.
And I think then they did the Amazon one after for the Leafs that didn't turn out awesome.
Yeah,
the ending of that one kind of sucked. But yeah, I just
didn't like the final episode.
That's what it reminded me of a little bit. Him talking about that. Yeah.
And we'll get into this when he joins us in roughly an hour. But just in terms of a time frame, right? Mm-hmm. Just in terms of today was the press conference. Where do you start tomorrow, next week, next month? And how quickly do you have to move on things? Because he doesn't have the time that Kyle Dubas, quite frankly, had, or, even Lou when he was here. It was like, we got young kids. We can develop them. We can overcook them with the Marlies if we need to. But this is shaping up for years down the road. Is that the same case here, really?
Well, we have a clip on the next steps. Should we play?
This is just clip 6, please, Derek.
Yeah, I've already started reaching out to most of the players, and we'll reach out to them in the coming days. Again, like I said, I think our players are our partners, and so really getting together with them and learning and hearing their insights. I think they always have the best insights, quite honestly. Mats and I, and Keith, we can come up with lots of ideas. But hearing it from them, I think, is the most important part. Like I said, we're going to get together with Coach Berube, and we're going to have a very detailed plan. We're trying to catch a moving train here. We got scouting meetings coming up in the next week, 2 weeks, amateur and pro. We've got the combine, followed by the draft and free agency, as you know, the schedule. So really, though, the first order of business is connecting with the players and getting feedback.
Yes.
So
20 of them feedback. You got to play me more. What is going, come on.
Yeah.
I'm your answer.
Totally.
Can I ask you guys, and maybe you can ask him this question, but it was getting towards the end of the press conference. I wanted to kind of ask, but I knew what the answer would have been. But who works for them in terms of the scouting department and all, like they said, this amateur and professional scouting or whatever? Is it just they're using the last guys, or it's just they're just going to same
Nothing
people?
Nothing changes till you said it changes.
But I mean,
I don't think anyone's been officially kind of let go or
sounds like
fired.
Shane Doan maybe not involved from some tweets I saw.
Shane Doan's interviewing for Vancouver, and I don't think there's a great relationship going back to their Arizona days. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're connected. You're right.
Sure.
So I don't believe Shane Doan. I think Shane Doan will move on. But yeah, that's another one we can ask John and Mats in terms of what's the bigger picture here from a build.
I think one of the questions I have is let's say Mats Sundin, and I'm going to ask him this directly, and him are sitting there, and one guy wants to trade for Noel Acciari. I don't know. I just picked a name, and the other guy doesn't like him. I understand that the final say seems to be Chayka's, but Keith Pelly made it sound like these guys are going to be in collaboration. They're going to work together. they have a good relationship. I'm curious how involved Mats will be in those.
Somebody's got to ultimately be the
guy.
Be the guy. Be the man.
Why don't we have that Pelly clip? Keith Pelly clip one on the roles of these gentlemen.
Sure. So,
Sounded like you
as the role of CEO is to put the structure and process and experts in place and then empower them to make the decisions. At the time of the interviews, it was really fascinating. Neither John or Mats at any time talked about titles. They only talked about goals, and that's the winning the Stanley Cup. In fact, I don't even think Mats knew what his contract title was until he got the contract himself. Would that be fair?
Fair.
Yeah. So I can tell you unequivocally that these two gentlemen are totally focused on one thing, and that's bringing the Stanley Cup to Toronto. The way that it'll work is John is the general manager of hockey operations, and I think these two will work collaboratively together on everything. Big decisions will obviously be collective, but at the end of the day, on a day-to-day business, John is is the general manager of hockey operations, and Mats has a role within hockey operations, but it will be something that will completely be collaborative throughout the entire process. Anything
I think that nails it for me.
That was that on their roles?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's follow that up with not hiring a president, Keith Pelly.
Clip two.
We went through the search. We had no preconceived notions on what structure that we were going to actually move towards. But once we got into the process, we realized, and as we got deeper into it, that this mix with John and Mats was one that was going to be formidable. And there's no specific reason for it. It was just, this is the structure. It's a different structure, but I think it'll be a winning structure.
Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. We're now going to break for...
Are we breaking too?
No, listen,
No, we're certainly not.
I was rushing back, cutting a few clips. Forgot to lop off the end of that one.
All
It's on
good.
me,
All
boys.
good. So, any thoughts?
Well, just on no president. So if you're, and maybe this is why they didn't pursue or didn't go after a Doug Armstrong, and I don't know. I still don't have a real feel for Mike Gillis, whether or not he was really in it. Some suggested that he probably pumped it up a little more than what it really was.
Is that right?
There's that theory. There's theories that he needed to control everything and have final decision, but it doesn't bode well for collaborative thinking if one guy wants it all to himself as a president.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the way it started with Brendan Shanahan. He had everything when he first started.
Control-wise.
He was, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As president of everything, he was completely the man.
Mm-hmm.
And it still feels like John and Mats are certainly, as Keith alluded to, are the guys that he's empowering, but he's also going to be involved, right? And I don't know in terms of just pass it by me. Nothing can really move forward unless you pass by me first. That could be in play too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you hire a guy and you put your neck on your line for John, like Keith is doing right now, you're going to do everything you can to support him.
Yeah. I said that in my article today that, these guys, they want to win. Keith Pelly wants this team to win. They didn't hire John Chayka because, whatever the rumors were that Ty Domi told them to, or, they hired him because they think this guy
didn't seem to like that very much.
No.
Brought that up at the end of the press conference, saying that it was not true.
It's like, hey, that's not how this worked. And so, at the end of the day, picking the guy they think gives them the best chance to win, and they genuinely believe in this analytical, sort of mode of thinking, and so they end up with the guy they wanted. And I think that's, to your point about taking a swing earlier in the show, or taking not the safe choice. Well, there's no safe choice, so have at it.
So the next big question, I guess, would be the Berube part of it. And I don't know, saw some reporting today. I think maybe it was Drager that mentioned that. I mean, you've mentioned it for 3 weeks to me about him potentially being back. I saw that kind of floating out there again.
Yeah. And again, it's not, there's going to be people going, he should be fired.
Yeah.
Like, he should be gone.
You're looking at one of them across the
and then there's others that suggest that he didn't have the horses for the type of team he wanted to coach.
Yeah. I would disagree with those people strongly, but
I also just, one of the things I think deserves a lot of credit is watching, coaches in the playoffs right now recognize, like Anaheim, what kind of team you have, and just saying, we don't have the horses to play a hard forecheck sort of game, so we're going to go.
Did you
want
want
to adjust sometimes?
Did you want to listen to Chayka on Berube's future?
Yes.
Let's do clip 4, please, from John Chayka.
I talked to Craig last night. And look, he's a guy that's a respected leader for over decades in the National Hockey League. I think he's a tremendous coach, a Stanley Cup coach, and a good person. We had a good conversation. It was brief. We're going to get together later this week with Mats and go through it all. I mean, Mats and I are coming in, as outsiders. He spent the full year and the past few years with the team. So we want to listen and learn and, understand his perspective and then, go forward from there.
What would they be asking him, boys? Like, what would, if Chayka and Sundin are getting...
Well, what's going on here?
Like, what are they...
I'm not saying that sarcastically.
What's the line of question?
What would you say?
No.
You do here.
No, it's what's been going on, and I don't mean that in a negative way.
No, it's negative. It's good that it's negative because it's true. They were last in everything. They were last in puck possession. They were last on rush chances. They were last on outchanced, whatever the case is. They're last in everything. What is going on?
They were the year before too, even when they won games. So it's a
totally fair question.
And I do believe that, right, that Chayka had mentioned some analytic, they'll look at that stuff before they talk to him, and it's going to be like, why are these things happening? Is there an adjustment we can make? I also think that when you finally talk to a coach, you're going to hear the stuff that's like, hey, here's what's going on with Willie. Like, I'm trying to get him going with this. Here's what's going on with Joshua. We had this issue. I showed him video. You just, until you talk to the people on the inside, you don't really have a clue.
Which has, and this is what I've told you weeks ago, is that with so much uncertainty on who's coming in and the timing of everything, to me, it just doesn't make sense to fire Craig Berube.
To me, it doesn't make sense to fire a lot of people who can help them. Here's what we've been doing.
Well,
early on.
In this, as far as the head coach is concerned, like if John's now coming in and he needs to talk to the players, he needs to hear from them, he needs to hear from the coaching staff, he needs to hear from a lot of people, and the timing's not right to fire Craig Berube.
We know it would make the timing right, is I don't think he's spoken directly to Austin Matthews. That just named GM, not allowed to, I don't think. But if Austin Matthews and William Nylander were to say, hey, not playing for that guy. And I'm not saying they're gonna. Maybe they love him. But I'm saying that would be the only thing that, to me, that would make him go, okay, well, we got to do this, our best guys.
That would have been done a lot earlier than tomorrow.
So those conversations have been had.
Already done.
So then you have
already done. Okay, you don't get this far and then now discover that Austin's not coming back. Oh, like, no.
But I also think
that's been looked after already.
You're also free to go into next year trying again. And then if you don't like it by Christmas, you can...
Then you're going to do it at Christmas?
And
anyway?
I'm not here to tell you that, like, Austin's a huge fan of his either. But these guys, and I'll include Connor in Edmonton, I'll include Quinn Hughes, they don't have to tip their cards now. They don't have to lead you one way or the other. You may think that you can go back to them and say, hey, I need a decision here. Are you with us or against us? They can still play the, hey,
see how we're doing.
Let's see how we are. Let me see what your team looks like in September. Mm-hmm. Let me see what it looks like at Christmas. Let me see what it looks like at the trade deadline. And but the further we go, part of the deal was signing my contract is I've got 2 more years to fulfill it. Mm-hmm. I don't need to tell you too much either here.
So one of the things that we've talked about here a lot is having multiple new people in charge come in and be like, we got to have a look at this, and not have the prior history of watching them over the past couple of years and be like, let's just see what we have here. And there's a couple, like having Bruce Cassidy out there to me, who was a premier coach in the league for a short burn type of team, which the Toronto Maple Leafs are trying to win right now. I think it would be a mistake. I do. And it seems like,
But
you've been telling me they're going to keep.
Sam, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine, bud.
The mistake also is putting a guy in that you think can help win now, but the team isn't ready to
Mike Sullivan.
win now.
Yeah.
There you go. Right? Like Mike Sullivan went from like genius, best hockey coach on the planet to
The next step for the Rangers.
what is going on in New York? And
So-
you don't want to do that. And Mike Sullivan's not going anywhere for a very long time,
Yeah.
right? But Bruce Cassidy isn't Mike Sullivan. He's not.
But I will.
You don't think you think Sullivan's a better coach?
I don't think Sullivan, or I don't think Cassidy has the same reputation as Sullivan or the longevity that Sullivan's getting right now. I don't think Cassidy has it.
Okay.
I do think that,
But it's just, okay.
you only have Matthews under contract for 2 more years, and you have to make the important decision. Do you think that Craig Berube, that you would improve if you moved on from him? And you have to make that decision.
You can make it at Christmas,
Well, that's kind of,
right?
if you think you can do better, then I think you have to do better. But if you think Berube just, I believe Chayka, he used the words, it's Chayka. It's Chayka. He used the words latent upside for the team, that he thinks there's more there with this team than they kind of got out of it last year.
Which I do think that's fair.
He thinks that, making moves, he's got to have a high hit rate and be creative and all those words. Those things, I was like, yeah, that's what I've been saying. You need someone in here to get creative. If anything, he's a guy willing to get creative. 24 trades in his 4 years as GM with Arizona, which is, compared to what we've had here the last couple of years, a pretty staggering number.
He's willing to throw it on the wall and see if it sticks.
Well, and at the draft table, he traded his picks, traded up, traded back. He traded up 4 spots to get Chikrin in Arizona. They had 20, traded up to 16 to make sure they got their guy, which hit. He does stuff.
And that was a big issue with Brad Treliving, is that
Doing stuff.
yes, he makes lots of calls. Yes, he's in on everything in terms of the conversation, but getting him to pull the trigger was like pulling teeth.
Mm-hmm. Like, you got it. You cannot wait till deadline day.
The Matthews part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Riccio asked him about what you have to present to Matthews to show that you're going to be a winning team to keep him here past the next 2 years. If we could play clip 5 on Matthews' future, please.
Yeah, it's a fair question. Yeah, I just start by saying, my experience with Austin in Arizona, I was the general manager there as he was coming up before he was drafted even. And just to watch him, live, his passion for the game, the quality of player he is, the quality of person he is. I was very fortunate to get to know his dad, Brian, his mom, Emma, his sister, his family, his agent. So you get a really good perspective on who Austin is and the type of people he surrounds himself with. So he's one of the top goal scorers last decade, if not the top goal scorer. He's a 200-foot centerman, plays the game the right way. I just came from an organization where we spent our entire existence looking for that exact player. So we're incredibly fortunate to have Austin. And, I think it is, I agree with you the way you termed it, actually. It is our job to sell him on, what we're capable of and reaching the ultimate goal, because I know that that's what's most important to him. And, how do we do that? It's not a sales job, I'd say. It's more of, what's the vision, what's the plan, and concrete steps that we're going to take to try to get the team to where he wants it to be. And we share that same common goal.
Didn't mention the dog, did he?
He doesn't know the dog at all.
So I want you guys to ask him, does he feel – it sounds like they're buds.
They're boys.
He just named off his whole family. Sounds like, is that part of the
These
reason?
fans should feel good about that. They have a real relationship.
Is this like a Jeff Jackson situation here? Are they buds? Well, that's what they did in Edmonton, right? Where they brought in his agent and with McDavid.
Doesn't hurt, right?
I don't know.
There has to be a factor of that for sure when it came to Jeff Jackson in Edmonton.
Yeah.
How can you not? simply connect the dots. But there's no guarantees. I liked at least John came a little bit somewhat clean to saying, he's been here 10 years, but yeah, we got to sell him. We got to sell him an idea and a plan. And these players that hold so many cards want some sort of reassurance.
Yeah.
I mean, my era was different, man. It was even the superstars didn't have
teams selling them on the future.
The pull that they have now, right? And if he's not feeling it, and we're going to discuss this a little later on our show about Edmonton, but they got some real issues with Draisaitl and McDavid right now, and their thoughts and ideas of what this team needs or how it needs to get better and how vocal they are on it. And all this would do would probably give Austin a little bit more confidence to go back to the Leafs now, or John or Mats or Keith, and go, okay, sell me a little bit more on this. Tell me, who am I going to play with? How many right wingers am I going to have next season?
I think if someone were to pull me aside at the end of this year and say, what's the most famous answer ever given on your show to one of your interview questions? I think it might be when you asked Brad Treliving, what's the plan? And he was like, we will have a plan. And it was like, it's after the trade deadline. We can't be coming up with a plan now.
Yeah.
There should be one. And so I think for Matthews, when he talks with Chayka, I think your point about having a plan is crucial. Like, you can't know exactly the names of the players you're going to get or pursue or whatever, but like you have to be able to outline some idea of what you want to do. We're looking for a puck moving defenseman, top pair guy. We're looking to get younger. We're looking to acquire picks. We're looking, you have to be able to give some vision to the guy. And I think that probably annoys you that you're trying to sell a player on staying there rather than the player doing their job and earning it.
But in today's world, you have to. And it wasn't by accident that John mentioned his parents.
Yeah.
Because you don't just have to sell him. You got to sell mom and dad too.
You got to sell the entourage, baby.
And that never happened before in our era. Like, I just remember my dad just giddy, oh my God, that's Mike Keenan. I'm like, yeah, Dad. Sometimes he doesn't say very nice things to us. Dad.
Papa, he's mean to me.
Stop drooling, Dad. Okay, he benched me like he made me a healthy scratch 6 out of 9 games when I wore a red sock mimicking him in the dressing room.
Do you think that Matthews would have had some input on this? With
I don't.
No?
I personally don't.
Okay.
Do you?
I think those star players get kept in the loop. I don't know what that means other than that there's no surprises. This is what we're doing. This is what we're leaning towards. I don't think they're going, okay, what's your vote?
Who do you like? Yeah.
Right? Who do you want?
Yeah.
And no player wants that.
No. You don't want to be on the hook for that, but you don't mind. Yeah, I kind of like this guy. I've met him. I know he's a good dude.
It's just the reality that these star players, it's important for them to feel like they're part of the build and part of the process. And as John said in his press conference, they're part of a partnership. So, but bigger partnership with the likes of Matthews and Nylander now.
Yeah, you're talking about huge value contracts and everyone's careers tied together. So that makes sense.
Game time?
Yeah. Let's
no?
Oh, yeah. We got to do that in this hour. Sorry, I got to make things mixed up because we got a rather big
couple large guests coming here. Physically large.
It's game time, presented by Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. 2 series get underway, or no, 1 series gets underway tonight. Game 2 of another series that started while the first round was going, which I hate. It's just it feels, I don't know. Watching the first game while there's a game 7 still to be played felt a little bit weird to me. Anyways, Philadelphia in Carolina tonight. First game, the Philadelphia Flyers didn't get to play with the puck.
Nope.
The Carolina Hurricanes had the puck the entire time. So it feels like that may be similar tonight. And the line would reflect it. The Carolina Hurricanes are minus 270 tonight. The Philadelphia Flyers are plus 220.
The Hurricanes had the laser pointer and the Flyers were the cats. They were just chasing something around they were never going to catch.
Yeah, it's not looking good, I would say, for the Flyers. And the Toronto Blue Jays get a series underway tonight. They're back at the Trop the House of Horrors, which they didn't visit last year because it got hurt by the hurricane.
That's right.
It is now back. It's brighter. And
Looks worse than
and
ever.
the Blue Jays never win there. They are underdogs tonight, as you would imagine, with Eric Lauer on the hill.
Jeez.
We'll see how that goes.
Got an opener for him?
I don't think so.
All
It's
right.
plus 105 on the money line for the Toronto Blue Jays opening a series up tonight, which you can flick back and forth with the hockey on Sportsnet. Anyways, that was Game Time presented by Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
And a reminder, this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet369. Okay, let's take...
Bet 365.
What did I say?
369.
I thought you had the numbers
369?
wrong. That's my old phone number.
Get it together, bud. Oh, my God.
All right.
Want to talk,
365.
want to talk some Oilers?
Yeah.
We are going to talk
plenty.
Oilers.
Plenty talk on the Edmonton Oilers. Where do they go from here? And Leon Draisaitl had some interesting comments as well. That and John Chayka and Mats Sundin in studio next hour. You're not going to want to miss it. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the program. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee.
Time now for the Acura Performance Matchup, the 2026 Acura MDX, precisely premium. So the Anaheim Ducks are visiting the Vegas Golden Knights tonight for Game 1 of their Western Conference semifinal, right? No. What? Yes. No.
That sounds right.
It's the semifinal of the Western Conference,
Correct.
not the semifinal of the night. Anyways, that was good talk. Few stats to throw at you for this game. Jackson Lacombe has 9 points in 6 games. He can tie Joe Micheletti, 7 games played, for the fewest games.
Oh,
Yeah, for the fewest games by a defenseman to 10 career postseason points. So
Wait.
Joe, yes,
Wait, that Joe Micheletti?
yes, that's Joe Micheletti.
Wait, he played hockey?
he played hockey.
Yeah, of course he did.
Go figure.
You don't remember Micheletti's career?
No, I played too.
Come on.
So yeah,
Learned a lot today.
I wouldn't have guessed that Joe Micheletti was the fastest to 10 career playoff points for a defenseman. So Jackson Lacombe can tie him tonight. Chris Kreider enters play 1 goal shy, becoming the 6th U.S.-born player to record 50 playoff goals.
Wow.
The only others to achieve the feat are
U.S. players to score 50 playoff goals?
yes,
Medano,
yes. The number one will
Kane,
yes, Roenick.
Roenick.
JR.
Yeah. Joe Mullen has 60.
Yeah.
And the all-time leader is Joe Pavelski with 74.
Really?
Yep, the all-time American goal-scoring leader. in
Man,
the
he lit up my
playoffs.
college hockey team.
He lit up a lot of teams. in
Now
the
he's
playoffs.
just like winning Lake Tahoe.
Oh, yeah,
Celebrity
golf events.
tournaments.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
is he playing that?
Oh my gosh,
He's sick?
he wins it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's
Oh,
the real deal.
Anyways, there you go. There's a little golf talk. And the Vegas enters the series with a 12-7 record in game 1s. And that is the highest winning percentage in series opening Stanley Cup playoff history with 5 games played. I mean, that they get a bit of an advantage because they've only been around for less than 10 years, but there you go. They're good in game 1s. That was the Acura Performance Matchup, the 2026 Acura MDX, precisely premium.
Beautiful. Thanks, Acura.
Okay, as mentioned before the break, a lot of noise coming out of Edmonton with their early exit out of the Stanley Cup playoffs, something that they're not used to after a couple of good runs to the Stanley Cup final.
Dreisaitl's the dude, man. Like that. He's thoughtful. He's smart. He's not afraid.
Did not hold back on the end of the year presser. Essentially, and we do have some sound.
We have 3 different clips from him.
Which one do you like the most?
I like the first 2. Actually, I love all
3 is
3.
really good.
I love all 3.
Okay, let's go with his concern.
Number 1, please.
Yes, I am concerned about that. And a little bit of that leads into, obviously us players, like I said before, like we didn't do a good enough job of, properly winning games, and I don't like using the terminology of taking the regular season serious, because we do. We go into every game and we try to do it right. We say the right things, but I think you really have to, in regular season form these moments. You have to get comfortable in these moments, and we didn't do that this year, and it ended up, showing in the first round here. So, but yes, I am concerned because we're not trending in the right direction. We've taken big steps backwards, and we got to get a grip of this and head back in the right direction.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, if you were a player and you wanted to call out either the coach or the management decisions, some of these conversations are kind of how they would sound to me. Like the way that he's phrasing it, we have taken big steps backwards. I don't think he thinks his play was worse.
Well, the one that stood out
He
for
was
me
awesome
was
in the first round. He had 10 points.
Right.
the one that stood out for me is we're not winning. We're not properly winning games.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is just right in the face of your head coach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got the Connor
is,
McDavid quote
right.
of old,
yeah,
where he
which
talked
is
about Cooper.
You don't properly win hockey games when you rely on like three people to carry you every night.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
We have, perfect. That's a good lead in. Let's go into clip 2. The start of it has Speck asking the question. It's a great question from Speck, and then he has his answer. So let's go clip 2, Draisaitl.
A question for you. One of the things around this organization for a long time, and it just came up with Chris, was we need to give the whole roster more ownership of what we're doing here. it can't just be on the top guys like it so often is around here. From the top of the roster where you're sitting, how do you see that concept of having everybody a little more involved in the product here?
There's no choice but that. You know, like the best team that we've had in 2024, everybody played such a major role in it. Like, that was the best team we've had. And everybody was so big, you know, the McLeods, the Fogels, all those guys. They played such a massive role in all of it. DeHarnay, CC, all those guys. And you need those guys to win. You need those guys to go deep. Yes, I think at the end of the day, you know, Connor, Bushi, maybe myself, like maybe the three of us, you know, when the game's on the line, we have to make a difference, and the day-to-day, you know, we have to set the tone, and we have to lead in the right way, and you know, come up with these big goals and these big moments, yes, but at the end of the day, it's not a three-man team, it's not a four-man team. You know, you need everybody to feel important, you need everybody to want to be important, and yeah, I think something to look forward to next season.
Yes, Dan. That's something to look forward to next season.
It was pretty specific, eh? And dropping names, talking about how last year wasn't even the best team they've had.
Darnay's like, "Eh?"
You liked me? I'll come back.
I don't know.
The one that makes everyone the most nervous out west in Alberta, Edmonton, is Connor's future.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And he also touched on that.
Yeah. Let's play it. Clip 3 from Draisaitl.
So you're signed here for a long time. Connor obviously isn't. I have to ask you about the sort of Connor McDavid window here. You know, how much does this organization, how much does McDavid's time here and potential time here shape everything we're doing around here?
A lot. I mean, in what world do you have the best player in the world on your team and you're not looking to win? Or you're like, and I know we're looking to win, but we need to be better. We have to be better. There's no way around it. We have to improve. And you know, he's signed for 2 more years, and God knows where that goes, but we have 2 years here right now. As of right now, we have 2 years, and we have to get significantly better.
God knows where that goes. McJesus?
You know, I just think it's so awesome that he's not pretending it doesn't matter, or he's not pretending that he's not aware of it, or it's like
that's been our biggest complaint here forever. Where
just control, we can control.
It's not that big a deal.
Do our best next year, and that's out
Yeah,
of
but
my
when we
hands.
do it and the media does it, it's overreaction. And we've heard people in Edmonton say that noise is coming from Toronto because they want him to sign with the Leafs. And it's like, oh no, now that Leon says it, it's like
real.
It's real.
It's coming from the horse's mouth.
Hey, they've been aware. They are always aware of these things, and it's great to look at it in the face and say, this is something we're concerned about, something we have to deal with.
The moment he signed for a 2-year extension with no raise, which is like still like
Offensive.
It's offensive. It's crazy.
And then what they spent
It's
the money on.
horrible. It's horrible
At least they got charged.
that you know, he doesn't take a raise that he deserves, and then they lose in the first round. Like that's the writing on the wall for Leon. That's Leon's green light.
Yeah.
People wake up.
Yeah.
He signed for 2 years, didn't take a raise to try to make the team better, and we've taken massive steps backwards. Like, where do you think this is trending?
Not in a good direction.
The thing is, you know, much like we've talked about here in Toronto, those guys are still there. And so their job now is to figure out how do they get better at the fringes.
They're paying, I think, $8 million combined for Kristen Jarry and Jack Campbell's buyout next year. Connor Ingram's not under contract next year. Like, they need to find a real goalie. They need to find some, it's
They're,
big job, man.
You know, when we'll talk to John and Mats when they come in, but there's a similar kind of scenario going on, is that they've overspent a little bit. They're up against the cap. They've got issues with not enough assets. And okay, Leon, we get it. You got to improve, but how?
We've tried a lot.
How?
Yeah.
Got to go get another goalie now?
Yeah.
You don't. This isn't like golfing with my dad and he's asking for a mulligan when he shanks one in the trees. You know?
Didn't need your dad to catch a stray here.
There's like they could use a few mulligans right now, but they don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And the Leafs are in tough too with last couple of trades.
Yeah.
With no first rounders coming, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night with the lottery.
Oh,
Big night.
Right? But Sammy, like if they get the 5th pick or they get a pick and
What
it's
about the first one?
right, they could get the first one still. It's a long shot. What are the odds?
8.2%.
8.2%.
42% chance they keep
first
their pick.
overall.
8.2 they get
Which
second
I
as
think
well.
is important if you can hang your hat on a real person with a real future.
You put a hat on a physical
Yes,
head.
physical head.
Yeah.
But it hurts like hell that the next 2 years will mean that you don't participate in the draft
Yeah.
in meaningful first round picks.
You'll have real clarity if you get or if you don't get the player either way. You'll have real clarity that, next year you could draft top 10 and
Trent Frederick, I'm sorry, but like that's you don't get a mulligan off that one
no, but
either, Leon.
He's not this bad. He's got to reassess.
No. There's nothing he can ever do that will justify giving him 8 years at almost $4 million.
No, you didn't need to give him 8.
Nothing.
No.
There was no competition. There was no one else that was going to strike that deal.
It was very weird.
Why
The second it was
they needed to go there
Like if you saw
is
6 years, you'd be like
mind-boggling.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay? He's a fourth-line guy who had some good shifts in Boston, and you traded for him when his ankle was still healing. He never recovered for that year. I don't get that. It's
Easily the part of that
it's
shakes me
hard
up
to
the most
recover.
is that he's 28. He's not 24 on an 8-year deal or something. Like it's not likely to get a lot better, but he does have better than he brought this year. Leon talked about them getting bigger. He's a guy who needs to find his game a little bit.
How about the Montreal Canadiens winning a Game 7 with less than 10 shots or whatever they had?
Yeah, we'll pick that up in our conversation as we go national. Next on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Also, John Chayka and Mats Sundin in studio.
No pressure, boys.
We got a lot of questions, and they've got the answers, hopefully.
That part's up.
That'll be fun. Anyways, more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Do not touch that dial. Welcome to the National Hour of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. We are live on Sportsnet, Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, 960 in Calgary, and streaming always on Sportsnet Plus. If you can't catch us live, there's always Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, where we appreciate a thumbs up. In about 15 minutes, we're going to welcome the 19th general manager in Toronto Maple Leaf history, Sundin Chayka. Mats Sundin, now the official senior executive advisor to your Toronto Maple Leaf, Sammy. He still got his jersey?
I have 2 or 3, yeah.
2 or 3?
Yeah.
Had him in here on his book tour about a year ago. Wow. My, how things have changed.
A little different tone now.
This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Any other messages?
No, we're good for now. I'm
text? You want to do text?
No. I put that in the lineup, though?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, don't do that.
See how I asked?
I don't know.
Did you see the big bubble with a question mark above my head when I'm like, am I supposed to mention text?
You're Ron Burgundy. If I put it in there, you read it.
I love that.
This is so true.
Test that one day.
I don't want to test that. So we're kind of on notice here. I'm texting with our boss, Ryan Fabro, who's going to bring in the president and the general manager and Sundin, and then we're gonna hit a break. So we're just kind of we're on their time right here, but I guess we should sneak in some Habs talk.
Well, listen, I mean,
Leafs are more important. No, we can talk some Habs.
Mats and John don't want to hear about Montreal doing so well,
neither
and
do I.
Neither do you.
But
I don't care either. I don't care. They're the only Canadian team left.
Oh, you want to you want to talk about Habs? You want to be like the Habs show?
I do want to talk about the Habs.
I know.
I do.
People are upset out there. Chris Hadfield, our astronaut, tweeted positively about them, and that bothered people. I know.
That bothers me.
I know, yeah. It's like if you've been a Leafs guy and you say anything positive about the Habs, people get upset. But hey, this Habs team, boys, they are something else. Now, they weren't something else last night.
They got filled in.
Did you give them a chance to go down there and win?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
They won there twice already in the series. I thought for sure they'd have a chance. I didn't think that they would get their butts handed to them the way they did, but Dobish was awesome. They got a couple of bounces, bounces.
So good.
Very good.
And
I'm surprised how good he is.
Yeah.
Like there's moments I watched him this year where he was scattery and just
I gave Tampa a chance if Vasilevsky could still do what he did in Game 6, and he was really good. And look at the game-winning goal, right?
Yeah. Smacked in, backhanded from behind the goal line.
That's a hockey god's goal.
Well, and even the first one was off several items. I mean, Newhook to bat that thing out of the air, that's a pretty savvy play.
I bet you Valley hates that goal.
On Vasilevsky?
Yeah.
Not back to his post quick enough?
It's not. It's just so lucky.
It's so
so at some point you can analyze goaltending as much as you want. It went off the end boards and he smacked it off his butt.
But hey, credit to Marty St. Louis. Sorry, do you have a point you can make? The post game, hullabaloo. I'm sure you guys saw him doing the Wolf of Wall Street stuff. Which, okay, that seemed weird to me, but okay. I love that he made some point of being like, not going to win a lot of games with less than 10 shots, but you won now.
What is it officially? The least amount of goals to win a Game 7? Like what record did they set? Montreal.
Least amount of shots? I don't know.
Shots?
I don't have a record
to win.
in mind.
Here, I'll look at it right now.
Right, to win?
Do you have?
Was it a Game 7? Or
I know nothing of this.
I don't know. I'm just, all I know is they had a goose egg.
What do you mean?
In the second period, did they not?
Yeah, they didn't get a shot.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, how can this be possible?
Hockey is
Let me just do
absurd.
No. It is absurd, but
fewest shots in a playoff win.
Thank you.
Says Jake, the voice of God, got that.
There you go.
Thanks, Jake.
For 20 plus years, we have done everything to open the game up. Everything.
Yeah.
Flip it over the glass. Penalty.
Yeah.
Icing. Don't change your tired players. Clutching and grabbing, whatever. How in 2026 can we play a 60-minute game and go 20 minutes without a shot on goal?
Coaches and players are 10 times better than they've ever been.
Coop did this. Poor Coop. Hey, everyone's talking about how they lost the gold medal game and did the same thing to the Americans in that game.
He got asked about that.
Did he?
You want to hear it?
We actually have a quote.
We have a
What a
clip.
producer you are.
We have a clip. Let's go to Cooper. Clip 1 on the similarities to Milan.
As soon as that last buzzer went, that's the feeling I had. I've seen this movie before, and it happened in Milan in February. And all you can ask for your team, whether it was the Olympic tournament or best of 7 playoff, is get better as you go. And I thought we got better as we went, and I thought tonight we played our best game of the series. Like sometimes you win the game and not the score. And when it's Game 7, there's no moral victory in that.
The deserve to win-o-meter does not
I will
dictate
say,
the outcome.
like, I kind of remember when the Leafs beat them in the first round for their first series win since I was in high school. And I remember the similar tone of like what he was talking about. And God, do I love it. If I'm a Habs fan, I'm like putting that on repeat, listening to my ears. Deserve doesn't matter.
Meanwhile,
Deserve doesn't matter. Shoot one in the net.
Everyone with a questionable coach out there is like,
here's-
they should fire him, hoping Cooper
Yeah,
comes
get rid
available.
of him. Get rid of him.
Here's his best answer. Cooper clip 2 on Hockey Gods.
That's when you at the end of the game and you're just sitting there saying, the hockey gods have been in my corner many, many times. And tonight they're in the other corner. And that's what happens. It's and as I said, it's like this isn't it's not the movies. It's not something where you can retake it and get the scene right. It's live theater right there in front of you, and you never know what's going to happen. That's why it's unbelievable to be a part of something like this. But it damn well stings when you're on the wrong side of it.
Oh, that was a deep
sigh.
I think that's his best answer he's given me in years. And it's so true. It's like as great as we think Cooper is, or as great as he thinks he is.
I don't know if that's true.
It's really, for him to acknowledge that, hey, we just didn't get the bounce, and it's so true.
I don't know. I agree with that. But for years, when like Sheldon Keefe has said it, we've come in here and been like, "Oh, you can't say that." It's like, well, it is the truth. I totally agree with you that it is the case. And in hockey,
Round piece of rubber on ice bouncing around.
If you take the best team in the National Hockey League this year and you play them against the worst, so Vancouver against who was the president? Colorado.
Yeah,
Colorado has a 65% chance to win that game at best. Yeah. Oh, I mean that's the math on that. I mean that's how it goes in hockey. It's like it's not easy to be good enough to be guaranteed to win. It's not like basketball.
Did you want to hear Marty talk about his post-game antics?
Yeah, very much.
It makes me sick to play it, but it's actually a great clip. And it's the legend Mike Zeisberger talking to him, asking him the question. Let's go clip 2, please, on his post-game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he just kept...
Sorry, clip 2. My bad.
Yeah, Marty, there's footage after the game of you running into the dressing room and pounding your chest in front of your players like that, and they're all screaming. Just, some of them were just the origins of that, and your players are saying, like, you have a special bond with them. Like, I don't know if Torts has ever done that, but we haven't seen any footage of it. And just, how you can sell the relationship you have with your players and what a special moment that was, because one of the most special moments you had in your career was just down the hall in the other dressing room.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can't take the player out of me a little bit, right? And I try to, I don't try to be in the locker room a lot. Like, to me, this is their space. It's their team. It's not my team. I'm trying to steer them. But every now and then I've had moments with them, and I try to pick my spot. And obviously, like a night like tonight, I wanted to be with them, and we had some fun.
It's a great clip.
It is. I do what?
Oh, I love it.
Okay, good. I thought you were about to be like,
no. Not a big fan of Sean McKenzie running stairs with him, but that I can live with. And in many ways, there is still a part of me that would prefer just to keep it in the room, and we're in the world.
You don't want
we're just in this world where we have to share everything, and it kind of at times makes me sick to my stomach because you lose what's authentic and what's real and what's not. That's real because Marty is real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I have no issues with that. And even the things that he says about picking his spots, about this is their room, all of it, love it.
Because he's a
absolutely
player.
Love it. That's real culture from a real guy. there's others
He's doing a great job.
that can really, there's other guys that can love trying to fake sincerity.
Yeah.
That's not him.
My first thought seeing that was like, why are we in here? As the viewer, I love.
Wow, Kipper's really
No.
coming off on you.
No, but I
I
love
loved it.
knowing it. I love seeing it. But my initial thought was like, that's a cool dressing room
Yeah.
thing
Like,
that like
Nothing,
I got nothing to
you
do
can't
with.
just share anything any longer. Like just the guys
But Kip, like,
can't.
We gotta go.
if I got my choice, I'd say let's do it. You know,
Okay,
sure.
let's take a quick break. When we return, the next general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Mats Sundin, Sundin Chayka, in studio. Don't go away. Welcome back in studio. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne. All right, here's the trade. Sammy McKee straight up for John Chayka and Mats Sundin.
We did well.
I think we did well. First of all, congratulations to you both. Welcome into the studio. A big day for you guys personally. Big day for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's just start about today's press conference and how it felt to you guys both personally. You guys have been around. You've experienced being the youngest general manager in history, John, with Arizona. And Mats, you've done countless press conferences, post games. How does today compare to what you've experienced in the past?
You want to start? You go ahead, John.
Well, I mean, I was the GM in Arizona, and so I was going to make a quip early about the difference in the number of cameras, relatively speaking, but didn't feel it was the right forum. But no, it's love my time in Arizona, passionate fan base for sure, not the same as Leafs Nation. And so it felt good. I think it was important to us to try to articulate a vision, to tell fans, where we feel we are today, where we're headed. And answer any questions as honestly and truthfully as we could. And so in that regard, I thought it went well.
You weren't nervous there, big guy, were you?
No, I knew it was coming. So I was a little more prepared than John. No, but it was great. It's great to be back. I lived 13 years in Toronto. I understand the demands of the fan base, but it's also the best place to be a hockey player in the world. And it's great to be back.
Okay, in the press conference, I think Keith briefly mentioned your connection going back to, I think, 2012. Did he mention the Memorial Cup?
Yeah.
We look at both of you today. We don't know how well you guys have known each other, but Keith mentioned it. Talk about this relationship, where it formed, where you guys first met, how it grew, and how it ultimately got the two of you guys together.
Yeah, we met in the Memorial Cup in London. I was going to school at the Richard Ivey School of Business there. The Memorial Cup was happening. Mats was down to watch it. And, I was kind of the stats guy and, doing something different. And Mats is obviously a, iconic player. So, talk shop and kind of exchange notes. And, whenever I was, out scouting or, watching the Leafs, just kept in contact. And, look, I think the real thing we're after is, this is a big challenge, obviously, and no one knows it better than Mats. But the ability to kind of have a tandem approach, and really that's how we're going to approach this is collaboration. I bring certain things to the table. Obviously, Mats brings an incredible wealth of knowledge of being a captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs and having success, and knowing what it's like to deal with the media and what it's like to be in that locker room. And so, I think the idea here is that we can share experiences and do everything for the best interest of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's great. So, you mentioned during the press conference that the process was, I think you said, exhilarating and exhausting at the same time. So I'm just curious what that looked like. Did you have to bring forth sort of a formal vision to them about what you would do if given the opportunity?
Yeah, there was several layers to it all. Yeah. Initially, it was just a kind of get to know each other, share ideas, see if I was interested, see if there was, interest on their side. For my process, then there was other layers of meeting other people of the organization, all the way up to, Edward Rogers, of course. And along the way, I had my presentation of, what I felt. And then honestly, at one point, they put together a list of 20 questions, almost like an assignment. I had 24 hours to, give them feedback on all the things that they were interested in. So again, it was very thorough, probably the most thorough process I've been a part of, and I've been through a few now. But ultimately, I understood the weight of the decision.
Mats, in terms of first meeting John and understanding what kind of hockey mind he had or how it grew, what ultimately was the deciding factor that this is a guy that you want to work with and try to win the Stanley Cup with?
Yeah, so I met Keith for the first time, had a breakfast with him about a year and a half ago, and stayed in contact. And John's name came up, and obviously I know he's a very smart, hardworking. We talk about data-driven. We talk about John, but he has broad venue knowledge about the game, not only the data and a clear view. I think a vision of what a winning team looks like that I share with him, and obviously with my experience, for me, knowing what John brings to the table, I think that was a perfect match for me to to join and try to help out.
So I guess from an actual process and relationship for the two of you, maybe I'm sure you guys have had conversations about what it'll look like. You know, you want to trade for a guy, he's not sure about the guy, or, you know, whatever the decisions may be, how much will you have to run things by? Mats, have you guys discussed what that will look like, those conversations?
Yeah, I think we've had those conversations kind of academically, of course.
Right.
And, you know, as we get to work together on different opportunities, I think that'll flesh itself out even further. But again, I think ultimately what we're trying to do, too, is build like an entire organization and a front office that, you know, we have different perspectives and different inputs, and ultimately we all put the best information on the table, and, you know, someone's got to make a judgment call. And you can have the best data, but that doesn't mean that there's a conclusion. Someone's got to, you know, read the data and interpret it and make a decision, and that'll be our collective decision. And, you know, I'm very comfortable that, like Matt said, we have a aligned vision and a common goal. And I hope that there's, you know, a lot of people in the organization that bring other ideas that aren't ours, and, you know, force us to make good decisions that maybe didn't, you know, come from our you know, our thought process.
You're watching and listening to the 19th general manager in Toronto Maple Leaf history, John Chayka, and Hockey Hall of Famer. That's you, Weed.
That's me.
Yeah, and now
Good,
senior
good.
executive advisor of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, in terms of the message that you guys both gave, either Keith Pelly or anyone else around the Toronto Maple Leafs, in terms of your vision, I think for Maple Leaf fans, the thing they want to know the most is not necessarily the details of the plan, but like how quickly can the plan come into effect here? Are we talking about a team that they can look forward to challenging for a playoff spot as early as next season? Is there a thought that this could turn into maybe a 2 to 4, a 3 to 5 year plan? Are you prepared for both?
Yeah, to answer your first question about, you know, what we talked to Keith about, I think it's important, and we talked to Edward about it. You know, as I think about building out an organization, again, I said this at the beginning, 2 tracks, right? Like, there's the foundational pieces: amateur scouting, player development, player care, sports science, R&D. The list goes on. These are things that, you know, hopefully will sustain the Toronto Maple Leafs for a very long time, and honestly, well beyond my years. Hopefully, that's the goal. And I think those things are, you know, daily things. Everyone in the organization, every day, is going to be committed to doing that again and again and again until we have a real player development machine. And, you know, if we can do that, we'll put ourselves in a really good position to answer your question, you know, much more forcefully. I think the other track on that is, like I said, you know, every season is an opportunity. And every season, I think, is sacred for this organization, for our fans, for the owner, for ourselves. And we owe it to, you know, give it everything we've got to put the best team on the ice. And I think we've got some world-class talent, like, and that's a good starting point. I think there's a gap, like I said, between, you know, where we're at today, we're realistic. You know, we know where our record is that we're coming in with. And we know that we need to get further. How fast, you know, the opportunity set's going to dictate a bit. But certainly, as Mats and I sit here and think about, you know, what we need to do to get this team to the next level and get some momentum back. And remember, this is a team that's been good for a long time. Not great yet, but good. And, you know, there's some pride there. And this is the first time they've missed in a long time. Players are gonna come back and dictate, you know, what that next season looks like.
You mentioned sort of jumping on a moving train here. There is going to be a lot for you to catch up on, and obviously, Mats, you're stepping into it as well. Mats, where do you see your focus on a day-to-day right now? Like, when you come in, are you immediately like, hey, it's, you know, trade deadlines coming up, you're looking at player personnel, or where are your priorities to start?
Well, I think Keith and Emily see, I think there's value to bring in experience that actually lived and been there. And you know, we went to the conference finals a couple of times, my era. Doug Gilmour, Wendell Clark was at the press conference. They had some good runs. And earlier generations of Toronto Maple Leafs that have been in that dressing room, been in the locker room, seen what's been good when you have those runs, when you actually have a team in terms of the culture, what kind of people are in that room, but also things that have gone bad. So I hope I'm going to be able to support, you know, John and the management, but also coaches and players. And I think with my experience, I have a good view on what kind of character and what kind of vision needs to be in that locker room if you're in a winning team and they're successful in the playoffs. And so hopefully I'm going to be able to contribute in all those pieces there.
In terms of culture, it's a term used a lot around our game, and some understand it better than others. A lot was made out of Gudas going after the captain, Austin Matthews, and having a lack of response. John, if you were, and I'll ask Mats as well, if if you were in the position of Brad Treliving last season, how would you have portrayed that? What kind of message would you have had the players the following day watching that?
I'll answer the reaction piece, but I'd say on the how I think about that is more on the proactive side, and it's all the stuff Mats was just talking about. Where, how can you build an environment where players feel supported, they're really have each other's backs. We have their backs as the front office, and like you said, culture is a big word, but whether it's communication, whether it's the resources we're supporting them with, how Mats can support them. I think our goal is to, build up a great locker room. And I think, once you're reacting to something like that, it's challenging. I can't speak to what Brad did exactly because I wasn't there. I don't know. But obviously, I think in those scenarios, you got to address things and be direct and be honest. And I think the team expects that of leadership, and that's what I would do. Anything to add?
Well, you said it pretty much all, but I think, it's. And Kyper, it's people don't really know until you're in a great locker room, like a winning culture, until you're actually there and feel it, right? And I think, the game has changed from when we played, obviously, but even if you go back 5-10 years, but I think certain things are the same in terms of that, the culture. I know culture is it's a wide thing to talk about, but when you have that group that is so tight and everybody's committed to a bigger goal and everybody's trying to be better, so I can help to get to that vision that we're trying to get to as a team. And that's not automatic. You need everybody buy in the dressing room, not only players, everybody that works around it. And when you get to that, then I think you can create great things.
I think we both experienced this is the biggest, at times most scrutinized market in the world when it comes to hockey. There is a level that you want to protect the players too, but you got to hold them accountable as well. That's the fine line.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. And I think when you have, I think all teams that are successful in the playoffs, and we never got to win the Stanley Cup, but even when you go to the conference finals, you have some of that great stuff going on where actually players are also holding each other accountable, right? So I think management and coaches can only do so much to put them there. At the end of the day, it has to be the group of players that eventually are taking charge of that, right? And holding each other accountable too.
Certainly one of the things that sort of helps with culture is winning, right? That's something that, if you can just get there, things seem to go a little bit better. So you talked about the gap there between where the Leafs are at and where you're trying to get to. Maybe selling Austin Matthews a little bit on making sure he wants to be a part of the program in the years ahead. So Kyper said, I'm not going to make you outline the vision, but I would like to have some conversation about, how you close that gap, which obviously can't be done overnight, but what are the steps to getting towards what may be a John Chayka style team?
Yeah, look, I would start with the internal. I think that this is a team that did underperform. I think there's a lot of players that have some latent upside and have performed better historically and didn't do that this year. And so, I'm an outsider. I can guess. I'm going to get inside, and with Mats, we're going to, have a lot of conversations and try to understand that. I'd say first and foremost, to Mats' point about a common vision, and this is not a new idea, but having elite goaltending, having top echelon puck moving, skating defensemen, and obviously having the game changers up front, that's the equation. Where we see opportunities is certainly how we defend and how we exit the zone and how we move through the neutral zone. Those are areas where we think, again, historically we've done a better job as a team, and we think there's some opportunities as well.
John, I don't know if you had a chance to hear Leon Draisaitl talk about the Edmonton Oilers situation. Not that you have anything to do with that, but it's really clear that he made Edmontonians know that they're on the clock for 2 years, and they got to get something done in 2 years with Connor McDavid. Austin was non-committal in his exit meetings with, I can't predict the future. You mentioned that there might be a bit of a sales job right now for a program and something that he can believe in. How big of a concern is it for Leaf fans that Austin is on the clock?
Look, I think sales job is maybe not the right word, but I think certainly anytime you have, world-class players that are driven to win, you have an obligation as an organization to fulfill, a plan. And look, I think a lot of Austin's comments are totally fair. If I was in his shoes, I would be thinking about it the same way in terms of, he's in the prime of his career. He's the best goal scorer. Obviously, he's the captain here, expected to lead. And, we've got to find, common vision and a common goal where we can, get the job done. And again, I think there's some things we got to do as an organization, and we'll outline those for him. I also think there's some things that, he's thought of or, he might have ideas of ways we can be better. And I think we need to be responsive to that. And then I think it's a partnership ultimately. Like, when you're getting to those levels of players, it's a partnership with the players in the organization. Obviously, we have our job to do and he's got his. But, there's a real synergy, I'd say, as to, how he sees the game. He's lived it. He's the captain. It's his room. What can we do together to try to get this thing to the next level? And that's the conversation we intend on having. I don't know, Mats, if you have anything else on that.
Well, you said it all.
Well, I'll ask you, I'll add just a little bit. Like, Mats, you've been around here for a bit now. You have followed the team and you're here on and off. And you talk about being, getting internal and talking to people. Do you have some sort of a plan of talking to the players, the staff? Whenever anyone gets a new boss, everyone gets nervous, I'm sure, and wants to know what's going on. Yeah. What's the plan as you guys?
Well, I think we're going to try to meet everybody.
Yeah.
Actually, and I think you'll get great information from everybody. So I think we need to meet everybody and evaluate and see what's going on.
Yeah. In terms of the time frame, John, especially you as general manager, to come in and make some hard decisions rather quickly. I mean, can Leaf fans anticipate that you could make a decision on Craig Berube as early as a week? Does everybody get the benefit of the doubt of a clean slate here? Morgan Riley's another name where a lot of fans are going, it's just time for a change now. Does he come in with a clean slate as well come training camp and get a chance to prove himself to you compared to others?
Yeah, I would say it this way. Like, I don't think there's any deadlines on anything. Certainly we're not beholden. I mean, there's, the regular calendar of the NHL, but there'll be no internal deadlines in terms of how we go about our process. But in fairness to your question, which I think is a good one, is there's a timeline. And the timeline's tight. I mean, we've got a lot of ground to cover. We've got a lot of important decisions to make. And that's not biased by saying we're going to make those decisions in any one way or the other. Craig is your example, is a great head coach. Morgan Riley's the longest tenured Leaf, good defenseman. So these aren't, easy decisions, and it's not something that we're going to, just get a decision done to get a decision done. We want to make the right decisions for the organization, again, for the short and the long term.
John, I want to address the idea that you're an analytics guy.
Sure.
That's like sort of the thing these days, right? New Jersey just hired an analytics guy. Yeah. What does that mean? Like, in what capacity will you use that information that would make you different from someone who's and I'm going to air quote, hockey guy?
Yeah. The way I think about this job is it's like a leadership position. And I've learned that more and more as I've done it. And it's like right in the title, it's a general manager. And so, as much as you're trying to find competitive advantages, and I think that is the role of a general manager, is, what's our right to win? What's our edge? And how can you define that so that you're not just doing the same thing as everybody else and hoping that, the lottery balls fall for you or something like that. I think there's advantages in data. I think there's advantages in sports science and a lot of these emerging technologies and fields, and it's how we integrate that into the fundamentals, because the fundamentals are always going to be the fundamentals. And if you can do that successfully, I think those are the teams that win. And if you do one or the other, I think, you're probably beta and you're, always scrapping it out. And so, our vision and our goal is to leverage, new methods and new ways of doing things and integrate that in a really thoughtful way. And I think if you can do that, you'll have success.
I imagine you've seen the data on the team last season, dead last in almost every category, outshot, outchanced, expected goals. Quite frankly, a disaster here. Is that up to you now to come in and decide whether that's coaching or player personnel real quick?
Yeah, I think we're going to go diagnose that. Yeah. And I would just say this too, data is, again, a part of the picture. There's a lot of things at play, injuries, underperformance, whether there's culture issues or not, I don't know. But those are all the other kind of intangibles that you want to get through and understand and weigh those properly So I don't think it's as fair as just hanging numbers on someone. That's not how I would do it. But certainly, I think it does again provide like some type of a hypothesis to say why are these numbers the way they are, and then create an action plan to go fix it.
As you guys were going through this process, Mats, a lot of stuff was coming out about what the roles might look like, and at one point, I think people thought you might be president or vice president. Was there a reason you steered away from that particular title?
Well, I think I'm old enough to recognize my strengths and weaknesses and what I can do and contribute. And so for me, and knowing that John was going to take this role, I thought it was a perfect match. I think we can complement each other. I know things, and with my experiences, 18 years in the league and watching international hockey and even now the last 3-4 years following the prospects in Europe. So I thought it was a perfect combination to come in with John, and I think we're going to complement each other very well.
John, as far as the work behind the scenes, in terms of the structure, the Leafs have been known to have multiple assistant general managers. There's still people under contract. Do you decide the structure now? Does that fall under your responsibility with from a medical team to pro and amateur scouting and the build that you slowly want around you and Mats?
Yeah, like you said, it's me and Mats. So, him and I'll go through that process. And then I think it's, again, maybe, it's step by step. So, we'll put together our core group of executives, front office. And then, you'll make decisions, as it relates to medical or scouting or, pro scouting. So, it's a group approach always. And, but ultimately, Mats and I will agree on what that looks like on the go forward.
Do you have a thought? You guys are big night tomorrow night. Lottery balls will drop, and you'll find out if you have the 5th or 1st or 2nd or no pick in the first round. Do you have a preference? Let's say you were to keep the pick positionally going into this, or are you going to go into your scouting meetings and say, you guys tell me what you've been working on?
So my preference is number 1.
Yeah, right, to be clear.
Yeah, if we could have number 1 pick. No, look, I think I'm a big believer. Like the amateur scouts have been all year working on their draft list, and I know that I've already had some conversations. Like they've got a fulsome list. It's not 5 guys, it's not 10 guys. It's like A to Z in all the leagues. And to your point about resources, like we definitely aren't short on resources to make sure we've got a book on everybody. So look, the balls will fall where they will. We don't have any control over that. What we can control is when we do make a pick, making the best possible pick. And from what I understand, we're in a really good spot there.
As far as what was prior to you arriving here, was a lot of talk, a lot of rumors, and you can expect more with the likes of Elliot Friedman and company. But, the sense was that they were Brad Treliving and the Leafs were open to looking at a lot of things, including some big names in the past. At times, we've used the word untouchable. We certainly got the sense that Austin and Willie aren't going anywhere. You're not interested in shopping them. You're interested in building around them. Is that fair to ask?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Yep. Yeah, we're talking about world-class players. I think anytime you talk about, again, no one's untouchable, but, you're trying to get better. And, moving world-class players is hard to get better. So I would not anticipate that that's something that makes sense. Again, the point is not to make a move to make a move. You're trying to improve your roster. And so when you're talking about players of that caliber, it's a challenge, of course, and that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have. And similarly, there's a lot of other great players in the roster that, again, hypothetically, you could talk about what's the value, et cetera. I think there's a lot of really good players that would also fall into the category of hard to move because you like them and because they add value and because they're good players and they're on good contracts. And so, again, we'll go through all of that, but I think it's a fair assessment.
And Mats, you mentioned all those former teammates yours that were there today, which is pretty cool. Do you anticipate bringing back anyone into the fold from your time that you played with, some of those relationships?
Hey,
this guy's sitting here. He's
it's okay. You can look at me.
You got a long contract here, Kyper. How does it look?
I'd help you out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think it's way too early. I think we have a lot of work to do with assessments, and kind of we've been watching the team from the outside, so there's a lot of work ahead, and we'll see what happens.
I did like the fact that you guys mentioned the Leaf alumni a couple of times. I don't ever recall covering the Leafs and hearing it referred to
Yeah.
in a press conference. And
Yeah.
I think I really liked it
Yeah.
from just a personal
I
point
like
of view.
they showed up. It was amazing. Actually.
Yeah.
A lot of good minds
Special,
there
special.
you can lean on.
Yeah, and I just think that great organizations needs to learn from what's been going on, right? And John mentioned it. He wants to build something that's a lasting, great organization for the future. And I think there's mistakes that have been done my era, your era when you played, and great things that happen. And you just want to learn from that so you don't have a organization that keeps making the same mistakes.
And does that include being involved in the business facets of things for you?
Well, I mean,
I know he's a business guy.
He's the cap and then the CV. No, but I'll it's gonna be really great for me to be beside John. There's a lot there that I'm gonna learn, and I'm sure John, I'm gonna be able to help him with stuff that's going on in the room that actually are important if you're gonna have a
100%.
winning culture there. So I think there's gonna be a good collaboration there.
Well, listen, we appreciate your time. Wish you the best of luck moving forward. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
it, guys. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank
That
you.
is John Chayka, your general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the great Mats Sundin. Back after these words.
Hi there, it's Justin.
As a reminder, this hour of Real Kyper Bourne brought to you by Bet365. See, I got the numbers right there.
Nailed it.
Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee.
I think in the musical chairs, I got your chair here, and I got to tell you, I do not like
Are
it.
you squirming around?
All right.
Wow, that was
Post-game comments.
that was like
Got the general manager,
I felt like we were doing a play. We were moving around all
Change
this
the set.
change
senior
the set.
advisor of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Give me your overall thoughts.
My overall thoughts are that they genuinely seem to be heading into this like they got a lot to figure out here, right? Like they're going to talk to people.
Yeah.
That's step one.
Yeah.
What's been going on?
Yeah, my original thought here coming out of break is there's a ton of work to do. And I don't know how much is going to get accomplished in the next few months.
I think it's just very hard, right? Like you're talking about, if you're talking to fans, they want the coach, they want trades made by the deadline. They're just getting going.
So I did ask them, Sammy, about Austin and
I listened to the whole thing.
Willie, and not. We basically put every rumor to rest here for them being moved or traded. It's not happening.
It's not happening.
I think judging by the hires, like, I mean, I'm not going to typecast Mats Sundin with William Nylander, but like they have a history together. When they did that Sweden tour together, they were very involved, and Chayka seems to be pretty close with Matthews. Like, it kind of lends to us keeping both those guys around here.
They're going to be here.
Yeah, like,
But
I'm not surprised to hear him say that. And he was pretty demonstrative in his answer to you guys about how they're elite players and they want to build around them.
But he was a GM for 4 years in Arizona, and their best player the whole time at like 50 points.
So
he's
they
looking
are
Hansel,
if they are untouchable, which we assume that Matthew Nyes is as well.
I mean,
and Easton
I think
Cowan,
he should be, but are you assuming that?
I am assuming that.
Okay.
Then how are they going to get better?
Well, this is the thing. This is the creativity that, we've been kind of hoping to see. And I don't know, Kip, I don't know. But I think if you asked Chayka that, 2 minutes ago, I don't think he has that answer yet either. It's that they have all these tools at their disposal and you start going to work on it. And what else can you do?
Yeah.
You just make some calls, see who's available, and puck-moving defenseman. How do we get a puck? That's the first thing you do. You sit down, you go, where's my office?
Number two overall, Chase Reed. That's who you get a puck-moving defenseman.
That would really help.
And
it's crazy that they did all this today, and tomorrow is the draft lottery. Like, are they both going to the draft lottery? You should have asked them.
I liked Radish's game in Tampa during the series against Montreal.
I believe you said earlier this year that just put him on the Toronto Maple Leafs to start the year.
That's a signing that could change the feel of that blue line.
Sure help if someone could shoot it in 15 times from the back end next year. 12 times.
Here's the only gamble is that he's 30 years old and he's really only done it once. Yep. That's a small little technicality.
He's D. Bobby McMahon.
Yeah, he's
D. Bobby McMahon. It's like, the next couple of years he's going to be effective.
Undrafted. Moved his way up.
Yeah.
Started to get some NHL time and then made the best of it and had an unbelievable. He really is. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, D. Bobby McMahon.
Now that I think of it, he had a career year and a contract year. Yeah.
Go get your paycheck and then hopefully they're effective for a couple more years.
I think that makes a huge difference. I mean, for the power play that was putrid all year.
Also, it's just one of the only places, Kip just talked about, how do you get these guys? UFA, there's no one out there. But if you can get UFA, that's no assets out the door. That's a great place to start. I don't know who else is out there. You know who else? I think Tampa's Dominic James is a UFA too. Really like him. But
I liked him a lot
I'm sure,
too in the
sure
series.
Tampa likes him a lot too. So, but I think he's awesome.
Well, Radish will probably sign an 11-year, $7 contract in Tampa. This is all be over with.
Sammy, those aren't allowed.
Oh, they'll figure it out.
Alongside Coop's deal.
They'll figure it out.
New deal, new extension.
They'll
that
figure
he's
it out
gonna get.
somehow. I would say that they weren't the most forthcoming with you guys. I felt like you asked a lot of questions. You asked good questions, but they weren't.
They're guarded.
They're guarded.
They've always
that's the
been
word.
guarded.
Yeah.
Okay.
They gain nothing by coming out here and laying their cards on the table.
No, I agree.
Nothing.
I get that. But I think in years past, a lot of the other people have been very open. Treliving talk, he was willing to tell you, kind of lay it out there. Maybe it's good that they're not saying anything.
One of the things I wrote in my article today is all these other guys that have come in over the years have made promises. We're Hall of Fame guys and we're going to turn this thing around and we're going to play like this and we're going to whatever. And everyone was like, now we're going to win. And the pressure is there immediately. I think these two have been a little bit more measured. We'll see how this goes, And I think Leafs fans should be aware that that's probably the right way to play it right now.
They still got to decide who stays and who goes. And like I said, there's
Riley was a good ask.
There's multiple assistant general managers. He doesn't need them all. Okay, there's some issues medically. Who stays? Who goes? Amateur scouting. has been atrocious the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, they have.
You gotta clean up a little bit here. And sometimes you are guilty by association, and your guilt is that you were part of a losing program.
Well, you're right, but to me, it's like, okay, Kip. So if you're talking about those type of roles, what do they have to go on aside from what people internally tell them? And internally, you just get people playing politics, trying to juice up their own resume, and it's tough to come in and be like, you're fired, you're cool.
Like, how many of you guys talked for the articles that have been coming out here? Like, which one of you were the one that was saying
what are your
that?
athletic contacts?
Yeah, let me check your go full Babs. Let me check your phone.
But there's always firings and new hirings, and you let people go.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not that out of the ordinary.
No. Well, I mean, you've been given a big job, and they have to
And
make
John
hard calls.
he's got a history with other people, so he's got some people in mind that he wants, and it's
You mean
like
internally to work with him?
yes, here,
Staff, yeah.
yeah, and it's like I can't get you here right away. Be patient, and let me go through my due diligence here and clean up a few things, and I'll bring you over. That's the way it works with a lot of general managers.
And to bring someone in, you typically have to clear a seat.
Yes,
Kind of
correct.
How that works. So, do you have any intel on inside who may go, who may not be a part of this?
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I don't want to do
Bad
that
question.
because there's a lot of people that are
don't say
that don't know.
You're right.
There's staff in there. They haven't been told anything.
Yeah.
There's staff in that office that have found out that John and Mats are now the guys, just like the rest of us did through the press release.
Yeah.
So, whether or not they stay, whether or not they go, how many years are on their contracts.
It's crazy. Like, you would have to think, if you want to talk to all these people internally, your next 5 days are just sitting in an office and saying, get these people through my office. Hi, how are you?
Oh, man.
That's a long
But it's
get to know you
that's
process.
the world of professional sports, man.
Yep.
Win and you're in, lose. And you don't know where you're going.
It's a big job.
Big job.
Big job.
Scary.
How about the Colorado Avalanche scoring 9 hockey goals last night?
I watched Cale
What was
McCarr.
that?
I was drooling watching Cale McCarr last night, boys. He got nailed by Marcus Foligno, got knocked out.
Yeah, his
comes
leg almost went over his own head.
comes back. He just scores the nastiest goal in the power. It just down the right wing, bar down opposite side.
Quinn
He's
Hughes versus McCarr.
two best guys in
This
the league.
series
He'll take,
unbelievable.
he'll take 6 more games of that.
Yeah, but I mean,
15 goals.
there's
in
no
game
question
one.
who I'd rather have between those two.
You're
Cale
a McCarr
McCarr.
guy.
Yes.
10 times out of 10.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
They asked Bednar after the game about it. And he was like, I don't know.
Hope that doesn't happen. 9 is
I have no
crazy.
answers.
Every shot went in there for a little bit. It was wild.
Our thanks to John Chayka and Mats Sundin in studio. If you happen to just join us right now, give us a download on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can rewatch on YouTube, where you're always giving us a thumbs up because we really like that because we're shallow.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. You need the validation.
How many games on tap tonight, Sammy? 2.
2.
The Flyers in Carolina get going at 7 p.m. Sportsnet, CBC, and then Anaheim and Vegas. All right.
And Jays. 6:40, early first pitch.
Enjoy
Sportsnet.
your night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.